Oh yeah, it's good.
Alright.
What does this do?
That's for you to hear it. You don't need to hear it because you're hearing it. Fine. Oh no!
That's okay.
You're destroying people's forehead right now. That's fine, I guess. I moved my chair. Oh wait, I can watch it on my phone. Okay, so now it's showing me walking away. The delay is kind of bad. But other than that,
It says 4 people are watching. They're watching my forehead. Hey, something.
I was on a go for it.
There's Eric. Okay, so I'm going to tilt this way.
Sorry.
Good morning, Amir.
Hey Eric, how are you?
Good, thanks.
It's cutting
How's your morning been?
Not too bad. Are you going to enable my video? Oops.
Oh, it's not enabled?
No.
That's weird.
This isn't.
But that's okay.
No, the people need to see you.
Whoa! Okay, there we go.
There we go. Okay.
It was me.
Awesome. So, what's up?
Not too much, same old. It's the repeat button every morning.
Basically, yeah.
Oops, let me just turn this. So it's, it just seems like the same old process and schedule every day. So,
Yeah.
how about yourself?
Pretty much the same. I've been doing the online classes with the kids and some of the adults, which is good. Keeps me busy.
Yes, I think it's important to maintain a schedule and a routine.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially during these times. So you had mentioned about comments. How are we going to do this, and when will it start streaming?
So it's basically live right now. So we're on YouTube live now.
Okay.
So I wanted to make sure like all the connections and everything were like in place. My sister helped me set it up.
I saw your sister's hand.
Yeah. So she's here. And then basically what I figure we do is like when the Zoom chat says we have 10 minutes left, then we can start answering any questions that are in like the comment section.
Do we have to? No.
We don't have to, but only the good questions.
What's that?
Only the good questions.
Yes, that definitely. Sorry, I just got to turn this off. How's your sister doing?
She's good. She's here.
Hello.
Hello.
You can like poke your head.
Have you been making any music?
Kind of, yeah.
I've been following you, so there must be some interesting stuff online.
Thank you.
She's getting all bashful now. Look at that.
Yeah?
She's getting all bashful now.
Oh, she is, eh?
That's okay.
I don't know that. Well, I don't know how much longer we're going to have to endure this.
Yeah, I mean, the online classes are good, but it's definitely not the same.
Right.
To be honest, I think it's more creating or maintaining the connection between the students and I guess the instructors rather than the actual training, because it's not the same. It really is not the same.
Right. Well, that's the important thing. It's just trying to keep them engaged, and it's one of those things that I've tried diligently to participate in the online classes.
Yeah.
However, I just cannot get myself to do that.
Right.
It's like a weird thing in a sense, is that I can't explain it.
Right. It almost makes you feel worse sometimes.
Right, exactly. And I'm excited. I'm going, okay, yeah, you know what? I'm going to join. I'm going to put my gi on, and then I have to pause, and it's just like this reflection of, what was, and now I'm on the mat with a dummy.
Yeah.
But it's weird. I mean, I continue, daily on my stretching and maintaining that type of regiment as far as the stretching, and I've probably been on the treadmill more than I've actually ever been. Which. But I know that the first time back rolling is going to be just like very traumatic.
If it's going to be traumatic for you, imagine like the rest of us.
I think everyone's in the same situation.
Yeah, I guess it's harder for jiu-jitsu because you rely so much on having a partner present to work certain things.
Most definitely, and I think that's the part that I think is going to that I miss the most. Is that interaction with your training partner.
Right, shrimping by yourself is not as fun.
No, definitely not. And it's one of those things, and unlike, and I think it goes to say the same thing with karate or any type of martial art. You can do your katas by yourself,
Yeah.
but when you don't have your sensei,
Right.
the old guy watching over you, and you you ultimately feel that that pressure, and it's the same thing. When you're doing your kata in front of your sensei, the same goes when I'm rolling with someone else, and Professor Jesse's sitting on the mat there,
Like
kind of
watching
just
every move.
watching,
Yeah.
or Master Silvio is standing there, looking at you, and that type of pressure.
Right.
It's and I think you need that. You need that to not only keep you in check, but I think it's that humbling thing, right?
For sure. For sure.
But it's also that recognition that yes, I'm doing this correct, or no, I'm not.
Yeah, and I think it changes the dynamic of training as well. Because when you're by yourself, you're basically left to your own devices. You can decide to stick to your schedule or not, and there's really no consequence. When you have like other people there, or someone else is, watching over what you're doing, or even just training alongside with you, there's that. I don't know. It's like you said, it's that pressure that kind of keeps you engaged with what you're doing, and it makes you more motivated to continue, doing what you're
Absolutely,
supposed to
and
do.
it's also the fact that that you're having somebody. You get the immediate feedback
Right.
more so with jiu-jitsu. You could, I mean, when I step on the mats, or when I get ready to go and train, I don't have a specific mindset.
Right.
Well, sorry, I don't have a specific plan. I have a very specific mindset. The plan is ultimately, stay safe, have fun,
Yeah.
and learn.
Yeah.
But again, in this type of situation, it's you go through the motions of the mental aspect of it. I'm going to shrimp. I'm going to do some medicine ball stuff. Whereas if you're stepping on the mats, you immediately know that if your cross-side pressure is effective,
Right. Right.
or if I'm going to go for an armbar, whether or not it's effective. You can drill and drill and drill. However, if you don't actually put that into practice in a live situation,
Right.
you'll never know whether or not that is successful or not. And
Right.
so, and that goes not just with with grappling or rolling, but also the self defense.
Yeah.
You can do the self defense so that you can learn the technique, which is at 10% or 5%. You know, but then when you start increasing the intensity,
It changes everything.
you're right, and at that point, you will get immediate feedback whether or not that technique is going to work.
Right. Yeah. Even with the
It,
karate too, like I've been doing a lot of bag work and just working
mhm.
on, my kicking and my punching and my striking, different combinations, and they're starting to feel good. But the thing I'm craving now is like, okay, well, I need someone in front of me to see if I can actually land this combination that I've been working on, or if I can, get this technique to actually come out the way I want it to in a live under pressure situation. So I guess in a way it's good we get to refine the details or think about refining the details, but then the application part is really what we're missing right now.
Absolutely, yeah, no, it's and I think that's that feedback, that connection between you know uh, uh, executing a kick
Right.
just up against Bob or up against a bag,
Right.
and Bob is a dummy.
Yeah.
Like
He lets you hit him.
I just want to clarify, and people go, Amir's kicking Bob. No, what about the social distance, Amir? No, anyway. But yeah, no, it's. I mean, it's the same. And specifically with self defense, I can go through the motion, whether it And that would be the same thing when you're doing self-defense and you had 10, 15% in intensity.
Right.
You know, yeah, it works, but there's no real pressure of the true situation. Now it's very difficult to, obviously, or virtually impossible to mimic that in a controlled environment.
Right.
However, the intensity level increases when you have multiple attackers, even though you have it in a controlled environment. So
Right. Yeah.
you can still increase the intensity to see whether or not this works. And if it doesn't work, then we throw it out and we move
Back to
on
the
to
drawing
something
board.
else.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Because the last thing you want to do is to practice a technique over and over and over. And then ultimately, when it's in a real life scenario or situation, there's an oopsie.
Yeah. Definitely.
And I mean, I guess that goes the same with karate.
Definitely. Yeah.
I mean, you do karate for the love of the art form, to learn the techniques. However, if it's not going to work, then you might as well then ride a bike, or you know what I mean.
Right. Yeah.
So
For sure.
it's I mean, if you're doing karate, you're doing karate for the art form as well as for the application.
Definitely.
And that is with jiu-jitsu as well, that I find the last thing I want to do is choke somebody or break somebody's arm. But I know that if placed in a situation where I have to do that,
You're able to
I
do
feel
it.
confident that I'm able to do it. Now,
Right.
whether or not that actually goes through, who knows?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
But at least the technique and the procedure is in check. And the
Right.
more you do it, just like a kata or a sequence, it becomes, it's that muscle memory where you're not thinking about, if I block and now what do I do? I punch, or and so forth, and it just becomes instinct that your path is ultimately dependent on the attacker, the person that's attacking you.
Right. Right.
So I can't do in karate, I can't do a block punch kick because there's nothing to block. So you ultimately have to just do what you feel is being given to you. And
Right.
so that applies to obviously jiu-jitsu and most or all martial arts.
Yeah.
And that's why, coming back to what you were saying about the situation that we're in, it's very difficult, and it's somewhat even, it's like bad. I feel it's like a temptation. It's like, they dangle this little carrot in front of you and
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay, I'm putting on my gi." No, I'm not putting on my gi, because I know what happens when I put on my gi.
Right.
And I know the mindset that I have to have when I'm in the change room putting on my gi. It's not just putting on a gi. It's kind of shutting off
The outside world.
my mind from the outside world, and now it's turning on about jujitsu, and it's the jujitsu lifestyle, about everything that goes with jujitsu. And so that's why I find, personally, it's difficult, especially now, to actually put on the gi and look at a computer
Right.
and doing Zoom. So,
Yeah. It's tough. Really tough. It's the same with the
but
karate too. You put the gi on, and it changes your entire attitude in terms of what you're about to do, because
right,
you're used to the fact that every time you finish the knot on your belt, you're about to run some laps or do some katas or basics or whatever it is, and you put the gi on, and then all of a sudden that doesn't happen, or at least not in the way you're expecting it to happen.
right,
It
right.
bums you out a little bit.
It does. It does. It really, really bums me out. And like I said, I was enthusiastic on several occasions where I'm, not that I'm, that not that I'm doing anything that ultimately, requires me not to be able to do it, as far as the time wise.
Right.
But it's just trying to put on that gi and put on that belt and then step on the mats and nothing. It feels like a bad dream.
There's almost a temptation to like wait until everything goes back to normal to then put on your gi. So it's like it builds up the
Yeah,
excitement.
you know, and I fully understand the fact of maintaining the student relationship and connection.
Right.
And Professor Jesse indicated that it's really good to be able to teach methodology and history,
For sure.
that you're still keeping engaged. Um, Everyone can do their own form of exercise during the day, whether it be, you know, push-ups, running, jogging, biking, etc. And so you're still maintaining a certain amount of, physical activity. However, it's not jujitsu.
Right. Right.
It's just I'm just doing exercise.
Yeah. What I've been telling my students too, though, is like it's not that you're gonna forget any of the techniques you know how to do. They're gonna be in there. They're gonna be rusty. There's no doubt about that. But the first thing that's gonna go if you're not, keeping up with what you should be doing is your conditioning.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
you don't want to not be doing your conditioning where you're like, I'm just gonna wait till everything comes back to normal. Then you come to class expecting to be able to do all the things you're able to do, and then you gas out in like the first 5-10 minutes. So
Oh, probably 5 minutes, I
yeah,
would
so I'm
think.
like, work on your cardio, work on your strength, and if anything, you should come back to the dojo stronger and more in shape so that we can work on, doing
The
different
technique,
techniques and
yes,
working more
absolutely.
complex things. Because even me, I'm finding that the more conditioning that I'm doing, the better my technique is getting. Not in the sense that it's perfect, but it's easier to execute certain things that I used to have a hard time with.
Right.
So,
Yeah, no, that is so true, in a sense that, we're all in the same situation,
right.
meaning that, 90% of us, or 100, or if not 100%, we are not engaging. We are not on the mats. We are not rolling,
Yeah.
and we're not trying these techniques. So I think it's like you just pause. However, the important thing is the conditioning and your physical health and physical fitness.
Yeah. I think a
Uh,
lot of people underestimate how important that stuff actually is. I used to underestimate it too. And now that I'm actually seeing like, oh, if my abs are actually a little bit stronger, it's actually easier to execute, technique A, B, and C. If my legs are a little bit stronger, it's easier to maintain, technique D, E, and F, or whatever it happens to be. And, it's one of those things where like, if your body's not able to execute the technique, you're always going to be practicing bad habits.
Absolutely, that is so true, in a sense that you have to be flexible.
Right.
You have to be able to move your hips in. I mean, in all sports. Um, but the strength and conditioning is also key in that. Being able to move a certain way will allow you to be able to execute a sequence a lot more effectively and efficiently, in a sense. That you're not stalling, or you're not gasping, or you're not overreaching because
Right.
I don't have that flexibility, or I can't kick that high, or I can't kick that fast.
Right.
In the same goes with jujitsu, and it's the importance of probably the most important technique that I find, in my opinion, for jiu-jitsu is the hip escape.
Right. Right.
Is being able. That's why we do shrimp, shrimp, shrimp,
Yeah.
shrimp, and it's it comes into play in basically in every aspect of the grappling routine.
Yeah. I think your hips play a role in pretty much everything. It's the biggest joint in your body, basically.
That's right. That's
And
right.
if you don't know how to use it effectively and efficiently, you're gonna have a hard time with so many things. So many things. Sensei
Yeah.
D commented Calypso.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, you just won't be able to make the, you know, the marching band.
Yeah.
You'll be in the back of the crowd.
Right.
But yeah, no, that is so true, that shrimping and moving your hips and that agility, if you can maintain that, and that's ultimately what I've been just working on, is the same, my same routine every day.
Yeah.
And I find it somewhat boring to a certain degree, where it's the same thing over and over. I
Yeah.
just want to get on the mat, so I'm using the ball, I'm working with, the weights, and it's, but it all comes down to, it's like, I'm just like, I just want to grapple, so the
Yeah.
kids walk by, and the wife walks by, and it's, come over here for a second. They go, no, no. They know better. But it's, and I think we will get through this.
Oh yeah.
And I just feel for small business, for small dojos like yourself,
Right.
to try to maintain your membership, and to try and maintain your curriculum. And that's ultimately, because it's people like you that will give us a place to train. It's people like Professor Jesse's place that'll give us a place to train, and all of the other affiliates as well. And I just feel for them that they can overcome this time. That
Right.
it's going to be difficult, but I think, you'll get through this just the same way that, when I have you in cross-side, you, you know,
It
and
sucks right
and
now, but eventually.
well, yeah, no, it's all about surviving. It's all about, being able to work those small movements,
Right.
and it's, and that goes to say the same thing when they reopen the province and the city. It just, we just cannot overlook the fact that, for we can undo everything that we've done
Yeah. Yeah. That's the scary part.
in 2 weeks. And so that's important, just to be patient and play the jiu-jitsu game. Be patient,
Right.
because if we're not, then we're back in the same situation again for another month
Yeah.
and another month.
Definitely.
Um, but it's going to be tough. But I think that we will get through this.
Yeah, I mean, it's at the end of the day, I think it's gonna make everyone better. I mean, even now as we speak, like the students and the parents, they've been really, really understanding and really patient, and supportive with it. So, I mean, that for me is a huge, huge blessing there. And I think too that even though it's tough right now, like I'm sure the majority of people that are training, especially for kids mostly. Like there's always those few kids that come to class because their parents are kind of making them come to class. And
Yeah.
I get it. It's totally fine. That's how most people usually start. It's like my parents are forcing me to go.
Yep.
And I'm noticing now that there seems to be a lot more enthusiasm as the weeks go by with the online classes, where kids are excited to do the classes.
Right.
And I guess when you have something that's taken away from you, you realize how much you may have been taking it for granted. So
Most
I think
most
when we come back,
definitely.
everyone's going to come back with a really good work ethic, and we're going to get some really cool stuff done. So
Well,
that's
and that's, you will see the people, and you know probably not so much with kids, because in most situations, the parents are demanding that the kids do the karate or do jiu-jitsu,
right.
and that's fine, and that's great. But I think, as far as the adults go, the people that will come back strong,
Right.
because they see the value of not having it.
Yeah.
And so, and I think that's going to be really exciting, when we do step on the mats again.
For sure.
Maybe maybe if this continues, there might be other ways that we can engage and still train, by isolating ourselves. Maybe we can sleep in the dojo.
Been there, done that. No thanks. We used to do sleepovers. Oh man, those
I
were
know.
brutal.
But yeah, if you want to think of it as a not necessarily a sleepover, but it would be like maybe a 10-day training camp
Right,
for
right.
people, so that we can train. You can train for 10 days with the group of people that you have to obviously tolerate living with them for 10 days, which I don't know if I can live with Sensei D, but all of the rhetoric, I think, will get to me. And it's difficult to sleep with one eye open. No, just kidding. But I think that we can, I think, be able to accommodate, just the way we train, and it's going to be different when we do get back on the mats. How we go about it. It's I think hygiene is going to be
Yeah,
more important. Coming back, as far as obviously, cleaning the mats and keeping the mats clean. But it's also the personal, aspect of it.
yeah,
Washing your hands before, after. And I'm not sure. It's hard when you leave the place that you're training at,
yeah,
and now you're going into a work environment, whether you're a first responder,
yeah,
and that's difficult. That's difficult to control, because this is a virus that we have no way of stopping it,
right.
and it's basically devastating families, it's devastating communities, and the people that are the most vulnerable. It's just devastating them.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. I'm
You
hoping
know,
too that on the other end of this, like people will start to see how important physical conditioning is, and maybe it'll kind of draw some more people in to training martial arts, whether
I
it
think
be
so.
jujitsu or karate. So I'm looking forward to that side of things as well, because I know like the first thing everybody started doing when this happened, aside from like hoarding toilet paper, is figuring out, okay, how do I bake bread, and I need to get in shape. Like
Yes,
everywhere you look on Instagram, everyone's baking bread, and everybody's doing like workouts and stuff, which is good. I mean, people are learning new skills and things like that. But I think like the desire now to better yourself physically, mentally, spiritually, I think that ties directly into the martial arts. And now that people are starting to kind of get into a routine, it might be easier for them and less intimidating for them to make a transition into like a dojo setting.
I agree. Yeah, no, for sure. And it's all about sustainability, right?
Right.
And it's like you said, everyone's starting to bake their own bread and grow their own vegetables and stuff like that. So
Right.
it's why there was a quote that I saw. It said, I don't know exactly what it said. It said, "Why grow a lawn when you can grow your food?" You
Right.
know, and so it's people have this luscious green grass that they have to maintain 24 hours a day, when you can take that same square footage and grow food.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
and I think that, I think what this has done, has made, always had made me, and I think people in general, appreciate, um, you know, from the farmers.
Right.
How important is that infrastructure? How important is the logistics of getting your groceries?
Yeah.
A lot of times, and I I know I'm slightly older than you, but I haven't experienced hard times.
Right.
And fortunately, our kids and yourself, we haven't seen what it was like. through the depression.
Right,
And
right.
so it's only stories that we hear, but I think it just makes us more aware of the importance of a family and friends,
Yeah,
and then our food supply.
right.
Because if you don't have, I mean, people were hoarding toilet paper, like there was no tomorrow. But then you look at all the other stuff that they left, the fresh fruit and vegetables,
Right, right.
they were still in stock. You know. However, now it's come full circle where the livestock farmers, they are throwing away milk because they can't supply the restaurants.
Right.
The meat producers, you know they having a problem there with that system. And so it just shows us that there is, I guess, we get accustomed to the lifestyle that we
Yeah.
that we started living, and it's a vicious cycle, because of the consumerism that we're in.
Right, right.
You are just forced to do it. You can bake your own bread.
We could always do that.
Freak. Yeah. You're free. I'm just going to go to Loblaws, but if it's a whole process, having to get my bread or having to get my fresh fruit, and but yeah, it's this appreciation. And the one thing that I think that is important out of all of this is, I know that we just want to backtrack before I continue with my train of thought.
Yeah.
I know we were wanting to talk about jiu-jitsu and martial arts, but
Yeah.
then I think we get caught up,
It's okay.
with the importance of long-term, facilities, how the most vulnerable, the elderly,
Right.
there's the most deaths. And so, I just feel for the families, and, these are the people that ultimately built the, society the way it is now,
Yeah.
um, and they toiled. And so for them to see, and it's that whole system that I think needed to be revamped years ago, but was constantly overlooked. So I
Yeah.
think this will, you know, out of all of this, hopefully there will be some good that'll come. But anyway, now let's get back to jujitsu. So, yeah, it's difficult, and and I think what jujitsu has done for me is that through times like this,
Yeah.
it's just, I'm not just the physical aspect of it, but I think more so the mental aspect.
Yeah.
It's stepping on the mats and knowing that I have a particular mindset. However, but that changes. That changes based on how I feel today. Who I'm rolling with,
Right.
and it doesn't necessarily have to mean a higher belt or lower belt. It's just because that person could be physically fit. He could be stronger. He could be younger, just like yourself.
Right. Heavy and strong, just me.
Just like Sensei D. But yeah, it's being able to deal with the situation that you are faced with. That jiu-jitsu has allowed me to overcome, because in jiu-jitsu, in a grappling situation, um, you are placed in a situation where it is daunting
Right.
sometimes. That we all train in a safe environment where everyone respects each other.
Of course.
So, however, it's still somebody's going to choke you, somebody's going to put you to sleep.
Right.
Now, obviously, you can tap or do the quick double tap,
Tap
but
high, tap low.
that's right, high tap, hello. And then there's the verbal tap too,
Yeah.
unless rolling with somebody that puts their hand over your mouth, so which is fine. It works in the street, but yeah, it's being able to be in the worst situation is where you just stop and go, okay, I need to calm down.
Right.
And you know, in karate as well, any martial art, that you have to have a clear mind, you have to be calm and relaxed in the sense that now I can think, okay, what options do I have? How do I get out of this situation? You know, how do I improve the position? Now, I might not, but at least I'm thinking about
Right.
ways to actually get out of that position. And
You're a
you
step
know,
closer.
knowing that when I'm relaxed and when I'm calm and I control my breathing, then I can overcome whether or not the result is the same that
Yeah.
I'm tapping or double tapping. Um, but it's just having to be able to deal with that situation.
Right.
And the same way in life, or in the same way now, it's, you know, how do we overcome this? You know, again, we got to relax, we got to stay healthy, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And,
Yeah.
and so, you know, we have to maintain that our loved ones, our elderly, you know, that they are taken care of. And so it's all these things that I think, you know, jujitsu is like real life situations.
Right. I think that's the thing too with the dojo community is that it does make you more compassionate, even though you're constantly putting yourself in a situation that is not ideal.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like whether it's, you know, jujitsu where someone's, you know, sitting on top of you about to choke you out, or, you know, someone's about to front kick you into a wall or something like that. Like even though it's like terrifying in that moment, you know at the end of the day that these people aren't going to hurt you and they're ultimately working with you to help make you better. And I
Right.
think that that balance is what gives us an edge when we face a challenge like something like this, where it's, you know what, this is a type of adversity we're going through, but because of the mindset we have, we know that there are people around us supporting us and we need to do the same, and it gives us that strength to continue to move forward. And I think that's something unique to the martial arts that you don't really get with a lot of other activities, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Toyo
No,
knows you can do the chicken too.
that's true. And you know, it's I mean, it's so true that it's so different, you know, your contact martial arts in a sense that, you know, that you are getting that first of all when you step on the mats and you shake hands, you have that mutual respect that
Yeah.
you're literally putting your life in your training partner's hands.
Right.
You know, the fact is that you never want to hurt your training partner because then if they are injured, then you won't have anyone to train with.
Right. And nobody's gonna like you, and it's just bad.
Well, they don't like me anyway. No, but it's, you know, but it's that mutual respect
Right.
that you have. You know, that yeah, I'm executing this technique. If I go too far, they will ultimately get hurt.
Right.
Now, does that, you know, does that accomplish what I'm hoping to do? Maybe no, no, no. But ultimately, it's again, it's about, you know, it's about protecting your training partner
Right.
so that we can train again. Because ultimately, without my training partner, I'm not going to be able to grapple. And now
Right.
we're in the situation that we're in, that we are faced with that scenario that we don't have a training partner.
Right.
And
Right.
so I think coming back will be, you know, we'll be more aware of the situation that when we put our training partner in, that we have to obviously respect them even more because I don't like this. This sucks.
I know. I know.
But how much time do we have, Amir? Or
Let's see here.
did
Well,
you say you were gonna?
I did start the meeting early, so like I had the timer going this whole time. So let me see.
Do we have any questions?
Yeah,
Did
we can open
did
up for
you mute
questions.
David?
Mute Dave. We would have about maybe like 5 minutes left if anybody has any
Okay.
questions.
So 5 minutes including the questions, or
Um, sorry, 1 second. Technology. No, but this
you're
timer's
glad
this timer's
you
going
have
up.
your sister there?
I know, really. The timer's going up though, so this it should end by 11:40. So 11:40 is when it's gonna end. So it's like 11:36 ish now. So we have like 4 minutes.
did anyone ask any questions or?
So, Senpai Young is asking, I found as I started training, it began as an all-strength activity. Can you describe how you evolve or move through to remove that part and allow it to just be a flow movement?
And that goes for jiu-jitsu
Yeah, I think so.
particularly?
Yeah,
Right.
because we're karate people, we like to, you know.
Well, jiu-jitsu is all about technique. And Grandmaster Helio Gracie in particular was a very frail person.
Right.
And he he was able to develop this art form so that anyone can do it. And so regardless of strength, regardless of physical ability, obviously you still have to have somewhat of a physical ability, but in order to execute most of the techniques, you don't need strength.
Right.
And
Right.
strength will actually hamper you in a lot of cases, because it's the effectiveness of the quote hidden jujitsu,
Right.
the jujitsu that you don't see. And the jujitsu that you don't see, it's about the execution of the technique more so than the physical strength that you want to grab somebody and squeeze them.
Squeeze.
I mean, not to say that you will, not to say that you won't be able to execute let's just use a scenario, a rear naked choke.
Right.
But ultimately, with your brute strength, you can still possibly execute that. However, when somebody has an answer for that,
Right.
now the technique has to be flawless.
Right.
And that is something that by using proper technique, you negate the strength part. And what will help, and I think he had asked about flow rolling,
Right.
that's exactly what will help, is that by flowing through the movements as opposed to muscling and using strength.
Right. Okay, so we're pretty much at time. We'll definitely do like a part two because I think it's good we get like a taste of everyone's opinions on things.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, thanks everybody for watching. If anybody's interested in doing another donation, just e-transfer to the dojo's email. And yeah, we'll probably do another episode. Probably not next Saturday, the next Saturday. So we'll do it every maybe 2 weeks for now. And then when things get back to normal, we'll see. Maybe we'll switch the date to something else.
That'll be great. And it's been a pleasure. Once again, I just want to thank all the first responders out there. My deepest sympathies go out to, all of the families and loved ones that have lost,
Absolutely.
thousands of lives. And it's just so sad. But we will get through this and we'll be shaking each other's hands as we step on the mats.
You bet.
And then choking each other out.
All right. Thank you, Eric, for coming on.
Amir, thank you very much, and regards to your family, and we'll definitely see you soon.
You bet.
Thanks a lot, man.
All right.
Take care. Bye bye now.
Then how do I end this now?
Oh wait, no, it's still going. It's good.
Stop streaming.
Go to YouTube and stream. They probably heard all of that.
That's okay.
It's okay.
End stream.
Yeah.